Hey friends, welcome back to Grand Adventure. I'm your host, Mark Guido, and we are in the down east area of the North Carolina seacoast. Right behind me is Core Sound, and we're here to explore that area as well as the nearby Crystal Coast in this episode, all at the same time. We're keeping a very close eye on the development and tracking of Hurricane Ian, which is kind of heading in this direction, so stay tuned. This week we're actually camping on private land right here along the North Carolina coast. And the way that we found this spot is through a website called Hipcamp. If you've never used them before, kind of think of Airbnb for RVers. It's where folks make their private land available for you to camp on in exchange for a nightly fee. Here the owners have put in water and electric on 3 RV sites way out back behind their house. So the folks' residence is way over there, well away from us, so we have our privacy out here, and you want to talk about privacy, we're the only people here. So this is really kind of a special spot. I wanted to do a lot of kayaking while we were here, but I'm really not sure I want to take it down off the roof because, like I said in the beginning, we are tracking the arrival of Hurricane Ian. Any kind of storm surge here, if the storm surge brings it up a couple of feet, we're going to have to dash. Not only because this land would be inundated, but also the only road in and out of here would be inundated. So if that road does flood, we're essentially going to be trapped here and flooded ourselves. So we're keeping a very close eye on it. It's about a day or so out from making landfall in Florida as I'm recording this particular video clip. It does seem to be heading in this direction, but at the same time, I have some hope that the center will track west of us. Now, if that's the case, the easterly wind is still going to push water up against us here, and we're still going to get prodigious amounts of rain. However, the winds will not be as strong as they could be. It's kind of looking at around 30 to 35 sustained if, in fact, it stays on its current track. So I'm a little optimistic. But we're going to make a mad dash to get the heck out of here if we absolutely have to before it arrives here by this weekend. Anyone who knows me knows that I love seafood. And we stopped today to pick up a bag of 50 little neck clams that were harvested yesterday and packed just 5 miles down the road in the little down east hamlet appropriately named Sea Level. Mrs. Grand Adventure doesn't like cooking seafood inside the RV. So back when we were in Mount Shasta, California earlier this summer for episode 262, I bought this handy little butane stove from Eureka. We don't have an outdoor kitchen in our RV because we didn't want one. So this will serve its purpose for those rare occasions besides grilling that we want to cook outside. While we're cooking these clams, we're still keeping a close eye on the tracking of Hurricane Ian.
That's very warm sea surface temperatures and plenty more energy that Hurricane Ian can derive out of that. And that's why
when we feel that it is necessary, and believe me,
these little necks are positively beautiful. It's time to dig in, but 50 clams wasn't enough. What you're not seeing is the following night's feast, which featured twice that amount. Our campsite for this week is located across Core Sound from Cape Lookout National Seashore, in the unincorporated village of Davis, part of the area of the North Carolina coastline east of Morehead City, known as Down East, or the Inner Banks. This is a delightfully rural area of mixed forest and salt marsh that's just about 3 feet above sea level. Cedar Island is as far east as you can go in Down East, at least without boarding a boat. This is where the ferry leads to Ocracoke Island, which we visited last week in episode 277. The population of Cedar Island is only around 350, and commercial fishing drives the local economy, including shrimp and blue crabs. The island is about 4 miles long, and the main village of Cedar Island, formerly known as Roe, is located along the north-central portion of the island. More than half of Cedar Island belongs to the federal Cedar Island Wildlife Refuge. Just offshore of Morehead City, the Crystal Coast is an 85-mile stretch of coastline that extends from the Cape Lookout National Seashore southwestward to the New River, encompassing the coastal resort communities of Atlantic Beach, Emerald Isle, Indian Beach, and Pine Knoll shores, all on the Bogue Banks. At the eastern end of Atlantic Beach sits Fort Macon State Park. During the U.S. Civil War, this 5-sided fort with 4.5-foot thick walls changed hands several times between Union and Confederate forces. The War of 1812 demonstrated the weakness of existing coastal defenses of the United States coastline. Construction on Fort Macon began in 1826 and was completed in 1834. Only 2 days after hostilities broke out to mark the start of the Civil War, local North Carolina militia forces from Beaufort arrived to seize the fort for the state of North Carolina and the Confederacy. Confederate forces occupied the fort for a year, preparing it for battle and arming it with 54 heavy cannons. Early in 1862, Union forces swept through eastern North Carolina and captured Morehead City and Beaufort without resistance, then landed on Bogue Banks to fight to gain Fort Macon. Some 400 North Carolina Confederates occupying the fort refused to surrender, even though the fort was hopelessly surrounded. On April 25, 1862, Union forces bombarded the fort with heavy siege guns for 11 hours, aided by the fire of 4 Union gunboats in the ocean offshore and floating batteries in the Sound to the east. The Union land batteries hit the fort 560 times, resulting in such extensive damage that the Confederates were forced to surrender the following morning. The Union held Fort Macon for the remainder of the war, while Beaufort Harbor served as an important coaling and repair station for its navy. Although it's not part of Down East, the proximity of New Bern has prompted us to visit the city located at the confluence of the Neuse and the Trent rivers. It was founded in October 1710 by the Palatines and Swiss, and is thus the second oldest European settled colonial town in North Carolina. It served as the capital of North Carolina from 1770 to 1792, and following the American Revolution, New Bern became wealthy and quickly developed a rich cultural life. During the 19th century federal period, New Bern became the largest city in North Carolina, developed on the trade of goods and slaves associated with plantation agriculture. This is Tryon Palace, the British governor's official residence until it was seized by Patriot troops in 1775. It served as the capital of North Carolina from 1770 until the state government relocated to Raleigh in 1792. Shortly thereafter, the main building burned to the ground, but a modern recreation faithful to the original architect's plans and some period-appropriate support structures was erected on the site in the 1950s. There are numerous other historical homes in the neighborhood surrounding Tryon Palace. The John Wright Stanley House served as home to several generations of his family, some of whom were important figures during the American Revolution, the early national period, and the Civil War. President George Washington stayed here for 2 nights in 1791. Did you see that building with the blue awnings? Back up for a second. This building once housed a drugstore where Caleb Bradham first formulated Pepsi Cola in 1893. Apologize for any wind noise that this camera's picking up, but it is getting nasty out here. We're getting wind gusts. We had a gust a few minutes ago to 43 miles per hour, and they're calling for seawater inundation up to 4 feet above ground level. Right now the water's coming up, and it's only going to be a few more inches till it starts flooding our campsite, so it is time to get the heck out of here. They're calling for winds over 50 miles per hour over the next 24 to 48 hours. We need to head to higher ground. hadn't expected Ian to get this close to us, but it's the forecast models keep shifting a little further east each time. It's now looking like it's going to make a second landfall just southwest of us along the South Carolina border. There's the possibility of tornadoes. This is just some nasty camping weather. Well, we moved about 30 miles inland to an RV park in Pollockville, North Carolina on what qualifies as higher ground, at least by Eastern North Carolina standards. We're under a tropical storm warning and bracing for the second landfall of Ian tonight. This is going to be interesting. We made the right decision to move to Pollocksville. While we've picked up nearly 6 inches of rain, even though we're only 30 miles inland, winds have been somewhat moderate. Meanwhile, back at our campsite down east, onshore winds have gusted into the 50s, and several feet of storm surge has inundated the area, rendering US 70 through the area impassable. Our campsite would have been flooded by seawater, and we would have been unable to leave. And after all that, today is a beautiful day. It's almost as if yesterday never even happened. And that's how the folks at the North Carolina Seafood Festival are treating things. As if yesterday never happened. The North Carolina Seafood Festival in Morehead City is now in its 36th year. Held annually over the first weekend in October, it's staged by a nonprofit organization of Carteret County citizens and business people in conjunction with the town of Morehead City to promote the positive social and economic impact of the region's seafood industry. Festival proceeds are shared with community organizations who donate their efforts to the event. Since 1987, over $1.8 million has been dispersed among participating Carteret County nonprofit groups. Attendance is free. We're now set up at the site of next week's Grand Adventure, not too far outside of Charleston, South Carolina. And we've often said that part of the grand adventure of RV travel is the need to remain flexible enough that you can make changes to your plans on the fly depending on the situations that you encounter. Hurricane Ian demonstrated that once again for us in two very important ways this week. For one thing, we definitely had to abandon our plans to remain right on the coastline in North Carolina and down east and head inland to escape the worst of Hurricane Ian's weather. Now, what we went through is absolutely nothing compared to what our brethren down in Florida and right along the immediate Carolina coastline, especially South Carolina, went through. So our hearts go out to you, and we wish you the speediest and most thorough of recoveries from Hurricane Ian. However, our travel itinerary for the next few weeks kind of looks like a Hurricane Ian greatest hits album. So we have to be flexible enough that depending on what kind of destruction has been sustained in each of the areas that we planned to visit, that we make changes on the fly to accommodate those situations. We hope that you've enjoyed visiting down east North Carolina with us. If you like this episode, it's extremely important to us. Please be sure to give us a big thumbs up down below. And while you're down below, that's where you'll find the comments section. And we'd love to hear from you after each grand adventure that we air every Wednesday evening. We would be honored if you shared the channel with your friends, family, and on social media. But if you're not yet a grand adventurer yourself, now is the perfect time for you to go smash that little red subscribe button right down there in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. And ring that notification bell to be sure that you never miss a grand adventure. So until next week, from the low country of South Carolina, please remember, life is nothing but a grand adventure. We'll see you then.